I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey Patriot Warrior fam, I'm Face, and these are the histories that America forgot. According to Wikipedia, quote, "The Treaty of Ghent was the peace treaty that ended the War of 1812 between the United States and the United Kingdom. It took effect in February 1815. Both sides signed it on December 24, 1814 in the city of Ghent, United Netherlands, now in Belgium. The treaty restored relations between the two parties to status quo antebellum by restoring the pre-war borders of June 1812. Both sides were eager to end the war. It ended when the treaty arrived in Washington and was immediately ratified unanimously by the United States Senate and exchanged with British officials the next day. The treaty was approved by the British Parliament and signed into law by the Prince Regent, the future King George IV, on December 30th, 1814. It took a month for news of the treaty to reach the United States, during which American forces under Andrew Jackson won the Battle of New Orleans on January 8, 1815. U.S. President James Madison signed the treaty and exchanged final ratified copies with the British ambassador on February 17, 1815. The treaty began more than 2 centuries of peaceful relations between the United States and the United Kingdom, despite a few tense moments, such as the Aroostook War in 1838-39, the Pig War in 1859, and the Trent Affair in 1861. After the abdication of Napoleon in April 1814, British public opinion demanded major gains in the war against the United States. The senior American representative in London, Reuben Beasley, told the U.S. Secretary of State James Monroe, quote, "There are so many who delight in war that I have less hope than ever of our being able to make peace. You will perceive by the newspapers that a very great force is to be sent from Bordeaux to the United States, and the order of the day is division of the states and conquest. The more moderate think that when our seaboard is laid waste, and we are made to agree to a line which shall exclude us from the lake, to give up a part of our claim on Louisiana, and the privilege of fishing on the banks, etc., peace may be made with us." End quote. However, the Prime Minister Lord Liverpool, aware of growing opposition to wartime taxation and the demands of merchants in Liverpool and Bristol to reopen trade with America, realized that Britain had little to gain and much to lose from prolonged warfare. After rejecting American proposals to broker peace negotiations, Britain reversed course in 1814. With the defeat of Napoleon, the main British goals of stopping American trade with France and impressment of sailors from American ships were dead letters. President Madison informed Congress that the United States could no longer demand an end to impressment from the British, and he formally dropped the demand from the peace process. Despite the British no longer needing the impressed sailors, its maritime rights were not infringed, a key goal also maintained at the Treaty of Vienna. Negotiations began in Ghent, Netherlands, in August 1814. The Americans sent 5 commissioners: John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay, James A. Bayard, Jonathan Russell, and Albert Gallatin. All were senior political leaders except Russell. Adams was in charge. The British sent minor officials, who kept in close touch with their superiors in London. The British government's main diplomatic focus in 1814 was not ending the war in North America, but the European balance of power after the apparent defeat of Napoleonic France, and the return to power in Paris of the pro-British Bourbons. On December 24, 1814, the members of the British and American negotiating teams signed and affixed their official seals to the document. That did not itself end the war, which required formal ratification of the treaty by both governments, which came in February 1815. The treaty released all prisoners and restored all captured lands and ships between the United States and Britain. Mobile and Spanish West Florida territory west of the Perdido River were not returned to Spain, who allied with Britain and the Red Stick Creeks in the War of 1812 by the United States. Returned to the United States were approximately 10 million acres of territory near Lakes Superior in Michigan and in Maine. American-held areas of Upper Canada, now Ontario, were returned to British control, but the Americans only returned Pensacola to Spanish Florida. All of the Spanish West Florida west of the Perdido River, including the important port of Mobile, was occupied by the Americans in 1813. But the Treaty of Ghent did not force the Americans to leave this section of West Florida. The treaty made no changes to the pre-war boundaries of the U.S.-Canada border. The British promised to return all freed slaves that they had liberated during the war back to the United States. However, in 1826, Britain instead paid the U.S. government $1,204,960, the equivalent of $31,165,936 in 2022, to compensate American slaveholders instead. Both nations also promised to work towards the abolition of the Atlantic slave trade. The negotiations in Ghent were concluded in 1814, in anticipation that the two governments would pursue further discussions in 1815 to frame a new commercial agreement between the United States and the British Empire. Pierre Berton wrote of the treaty, quote, "It was as if no war had been fought, or to put it more bluntly, as if the war that was fought for no good reason. For nothing has changed. Everything is as it was in the beginning, save for the graves of those who, it now appears, have fought for a trifle. Lake Erie and Fort McHenry will go into the American history books, Queenston Heights and Chrysler's Farm into the Canadian. But without the gore, the stench, the disease, the terror, the conniving, and the imbeciles that march with every army." End quote. In the century of peace between both countries that followed from 1815 to World War I, several more territorial and diplomatic disputes arose, but all were resolved peacefully, sometimes by arbitration. The course of the war resolved and ended the other major original issue. Most native tribes had allied with the British, but had been defeated, allowing the United States to continue its expansion westward. Britain maintained their maritime rights with no mention of impressment in the treaty, a key victory for them. James Carr argues that Britain negotiated the Treaty of Ghent with the goal of ending the war, but knew that a major British expedition had been ordered to seize New Orleans. Carr says that Britain had no intention of repudiating the treaty and continuing the war if it had won the battle. News of the treaty finally reached the United States soon after it had won a major victory in the Battle of New Orleans, and the treaty won immediate, wide approval from all sides. The British learned of the treaty when HMS Brazen arrived off Fort Bowyer on February 13th, carrying news that the Treaty of Ghent had been signed on the previous Christmas Eve. The U.S. Senate unanimously approved the treaty on February 16, 1815, and President Madison exchanged ratification papers with a British diplomat in Washington on February 17th. The treaty was proclaimed on February 18th. The Peace Arch, dedicated in September 1921, stands 20.5 meters at the Douglas-Blaine border, crossing between the province of British Columbia and the state of Washington. The monument represents a perpetually open gate across the Canada-U.S. boundary. In 1922, the Fountain of Time was dedicated in Washington Park, Chicago, commemorating 110 years of peace between the United States and Britain. The Peace Bridge between Buffalo, New York, and Fort Erie, Ontario, opened in 1927 to commemorate more than a century of peace between the United States and Canada. Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial, 1936, commemorates the Battle of Lake Erie that took place near Ohio's South Base Island, in which Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry led a fleet to victory in one of the most significant naval battles to occur in the War of 1812. Located on an isthmus on the island, the memorial also celebrates the lasting peace between Britain, Canada, and the United States that followed the war.
Yeah, let's go. I'm unstoppable, do the impossible. I'm irresponsible, yet I'm phenomenal. I got an arsenal, I'm dropping bombs, you know. No, I'm not stopping, no. Conquer the obstacle. To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable. Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I could drop you, bro. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable. Yeah, let's go. I don't care what they all say. That's right, I'ma do this thing my way. Let's go. Been grinding hard on it all day. Okay, we work hard, then we all play. Yeah, I'm addicted to the grind, man. That's right, so I refuse to waste time, man. Yeah, one day it all will be fine, man. Let's go. Gotta commit to the climb, you know, man. We're back with the Guinness, setting records every minute, every track. In addiction to the fact that we're winning, still we lack, something's missing. Need a track that is hitting, making racks, making millions. Oh, yeah. That's the mission. I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable. Yeah.